ServSafe facilities and equipment. If you ever get the chance to design your own kitchen from the ground up, it's a wonderful thing. Please put your experience to work. Do the very best you can to lay it out so it has great workflow. You want to make sure that you have the food in the danger zone for the minimum amount of time. So you want to make sure that you lay it out so that your coolers and your refrigerators are near your prep tables, and it all flows from the refrigeration, from the storeroom to the workplace, to the prep area, to the hotline, to the dining room. You want to make sure that your dishwashing facilities are accessible and easy to get to. You want to make sure that your receiving area is well thought out, so you don't have boxes and shipments coming through the middle of your kitchen at all times. And you want to make sure that everything is organized. You want to reduce the amount of cross-contamination. So if you're laying it out, you have your pantry set up completely separate from your hotline. Your pantry is where you're going to have mostly RTE foods. Your hotline, you're going to have a lot of stuff that's potentially hazardous, and you don't want to have any cross-contamination. So if you can keep the two separate, that's fantastic. Accessibility for cleaning. Again, if you're the one making the call on the equipment being installed or purchased, you want to make sure that everything is on wheels. You can easily wheel it out, get behind it, clean the back of it, clean the wall behind it, clean the floor underneath it. Makes your life much easier. Before you start a new construction, you want to make sure that you have a professional do your floor plan, your blueprints. But don't just rely on those professionals. I was working at a place where the company that designed Giant Stadium was designing our new renovations, and they kept saying to me, "Oh, we have the best people on it. We have the best people on it," which I took their word for it. Then they started doing the construction, and the health department came for just a regular inspection. No one contacted the health department, and lo and behold, the regulations had changed. And the builders said, well, there was only 4 hand sinks here before. Why do we have to have 6 now? Well, because we changed things. So it's in your best interest to have those prints made. But before you start to build or do anything like that, you want to make sure you get yourself to your health department and make sure that they agree with and sign off on all of your plans. All the surfaces in the kitchen. There's a couple of slides here, and they say the same thing over and over. Every surface in the kitchen needs to be smooth, non-absorbent, which means not porous, which means it can't take on any water, easy to clean, and durable. That's all the areas in the kitchen: the food prep area, the dishwashing area, the coolers, the walk-ins, and the restrooms. The only area you're allowed to have carpet is going to be the dining room, and I strongly don't recommend it unless you absolutely positively have to have it, because it's hard to keep clean and it harbors bacteria. The next thing you need to know about is coving. On the side of your where the wall meets the floor, you need to have these tiles that have this edge, this curve on them. That's called coving. The idea is you can wash your walls. Hopefully your walls are going to be made of tile, or they're going to have FRP substance that you can wash, rinse, sanitize, and you can spray it down with water. The water will run down the wall, and it will not run behind the tile. It'll run down and it'll run onto the floor. It does 2 things. One, it eliminates the area for pests to hide and to harbor themselves, and it also doesn't let the water, the moisture, sit in that area and cause the wall to decay. Just talk about all materials must be smooth, non-absorbent, clean and easy, or easy to clean and durable. Food contact areas. Then we're talking about all the tables that you're going to actually, in the ovens and stoves, you're actually going to put food on. And exactly the same thing. It needs to be safe for food contact, non-absorbent, smooth, corrosion resistant. So you want stainless steel. You want something that's not going to rust. Easy to clean and maintain, because you're going to clean them constantly. Durable, stand up to heavy repeated cleaning. And then you want to make sure that you just don't get a piece of plywood from the back and say, I can make a table out of this. You don't want pitting or chipping or any kind of distortion to the tables at all. Same thing. NSF, you're going to want to buy food grade quality equipment to use in your restaurant or your food service establishment. You want to look for these symbols over here. You want to look for NSF. Make sure that everything is certified, tested. You don't want to run the risk of using a bucket that is not food grade quality bucket, and then it's a plastic that's made of something that's not made for food, and you put a tomato product in there, or you put a vinaigrette in there, and the acid in the tomato or the acid in the vinegar will cause a chemical reaction. You want to make sure that at all times you're using a food quality equipment. Please do not try to save money by going to, Target or Walmart and buying the Susie Homemaker stuff. Anything that is floor mounted, any refrigerator or table, needs to be at least 6 inches off the floor, 15 centimeters high. The only exception to that rule is if it is sealed with masonry. So that coving that I showed you before, essentially the table sits on top of that. They have the masonry that goes right up to the bottom of the table, and it has the coving. That's the only exception to that rule. Anything that's sitting, any piece of equipment sitting on top of a table needs to be at least 4 inches off that table, so you can stick your arm underneath it completely and wipe it underneath. Best place I ever worked as far as maintenance goes was a healthcare facility, and I'm not sure what the maintenance guy did, but how much he paid, but I think it was well worth it. He paid for a maintenance contract, and these guys would come in once a quarter. They'd go through every oven, every stove. Never had a problem with a pilot. Never had a problem with the ignition for my stoves. Everything was kept up to snuff. They would bring an air thing and blow out all of the compressors of the coolers and all the refrigerators. It was well worth the investment. Hand washing sinks must have minimum hot and cold running water, and the water has to be at least 100 degrees. Soap, you have to supply soap. You also must supply some way to dry your hands. Preferably is going to be disposable single-use paper towels. Not a big fan of the air dryers, and I'll explain why in a second. Garbage can to get rid of your paper towels, and signage. For every person who works in your facility that doesn't speak English, you need to make sure that you have a sign in their language. I worked in one kitchen where I had Spanish, Portuguese, Hungarian, and English, and I had 4 signs. The reason I want to have paper towels is because, review real quick the way you wash your hands. I want you to walk up and dispense the paper towels first. Once you dispense paper towels, then you're going to turn the water on. Then you're going to get the soap, and you're going to have the water as hot as you can handle it. You're going to rub your hands briskly together, all right? Before this COVID outbreak, they would have said 10 to 15 seconds, and now I'm going to say minimum of 20 seconds. Sing happy birthday twice, sing the alphabet twice, whatever you have to do, 20 seconds minimum. Make sure that you get your fingers in between your fingers, your nail beds, everything on your hands, a little bit up on your wrists. Then you're going to take the paper towel that you already dispensed. You're going to dry your hands. I would take I would use that paper towel to get more paper towel. Use the paper towel as a barrier to turn the faucet off before you're done. When you're done, do not touch the faucet that you just touched to turn it on, because you were contaminated when you touched it. Also, retain that paper, and before you leave the bathroom, use that paper towel to grab the handle of the door. That way you reduce the risk of recontaminating yourself, because you don't know what's on the handle of that door.